really exposes how I think if politics in Malaysia is going to change, then we need to have a conversation about political parties and just how they are structured and how candidates are selected. Because unless we do that, then we'll never have young and new fresh blood in our politics, right? So yeah, so I think that's a really interesting thing, and I hope that all the scholars and PhD students studying this election will write something about that. I'm really looking forward to.
Mentioned that this election is unique because there is no dominant party or coalition. It's a very important point. And there is actually no point on very difficult to differentiate between the current coalitions. And then Ira mentioned sort of the challenges within the political parties. I'd like to offer a sort of a general framework how we could look at these issues, and then I will then dovetail into sort of the longer term issues that Malaysia faces. So I'll talk about leadership very quickly, leadership in political parties and coalition, the ideology of these coalitions, how have these three coalitions managed the Malaysian economy over the past 4 years, and how do they see Malaysia going from GE15 onwards. So there's this famous, you can find this on Twitter. We've got Pakatan Harapan, we've got Perikatan Nasional, Barisan Nasional, Gerakan Tanah Air, and then in the Borneo states, Gabungan Parti Sarawak and Gabungan Rakyat Sabah. So, if it was not already confusing with the number of candidates, just this the sheer number of political parties tells you the story. Now, so how would you look at all these coalitions? So I'm going to only look at sort of the three main coalition. So number one, leadership of the political parties of the coalition. I would consider Perikatan Nasional as a very authoritarian political party. So PAS, it's Abdul Hadi Awang's party. He has purged the moderates out of PAS, and people who dissent his views have been kicked out. Bersatu, well, Muhyiddin's party, he was perhaps the most authoritarian prime minister. He suspended parliament. Never has that happened since Tun Razak's time after May 13. And then if you put Gerakan Tanah Air together, and I put GTA together because although they are a loose coalition themselves, their ideology and the leader of Gerakan Tanah Air, which is Tun Mahathir, he is vehemently against UMNO, and we also know he's vehemently against Anwar Ibrahim. So GTA, I suspect, has some informal agreement with Perikatan Nasional to work together. In terms of ideology, well, Perikatan Nasional and Gerakan Tanah Air is the consolidation of all right-wing Malay and Islamic parties. Okay, so if you look, Pejuang, Gagasan Bangsa, which includes ISMA, Putra Parti, Bumi Putra Perkasa Malaysia, Iman, Berjasa, these are all right-wing Malay Muslim parties. And if you take the ideologues behind these political parties, people like Marzuki Muhammad, Wan Fashal, Muhammad Abdul Khalid, these are individuals who talk about Bangsa Melayu, Bangsa Teras, greater Bumi Putra, code for Malay, support for for Malay, the Malay agenda. So there would be in my view, communalism at its furthest right. Now, Barisan Nasional, as we know, has been the vehicle to mediate this communalism. Over time, with the strength of UMNO, they've moved towards the right, but still there are structures within Barisan Nasional that, it's not far right. It's somewhere in the middle. And Pakatan Harapan, given the genesis of it, reformasi, so Pakatan Harapan Ketuanan Rakyat, and because Bumi Putras are the majority, so you have, a form of Ketuanan Melayu, but Ketuanan Rakyat is more ingrained. And then you have Perikatan Nasional, which is Ketuanan Melayu Islam. None of these political parties are democratic in my view, because challenging the leadership in any of these political parties are hazardous. So that's on the authoritarian and party ideology. Now, in terms of economic management, I would have to say that all of these coalitions, when you look at the aggregate indicators in Malaysia, GDP, national income, inflation, and so forth, the aggregate numbers are stable. So there is no one, one coalition that has managed Malaysia poorly. Now, there have been incidents, but by and large, if you look at economic growth, now the COVID hit, there was a recession, 5.6, but very quickly we recovered. Which was through good economic management of Perikatan Nasional, and we recovered. So the fundamentals of Malaysia are sound, and all of these coalitions have managed the Malaysian economy well. Which then comes to my last point about what do we do post GE15, because there are fundamental issues that has plagued Malaysia, in fact, since the 1990s, which we have not addressed, the structural issues. Now, as we have seen, Pakatan Harapan tried, failed. Barisan Nasional have tried. Najib Razak tried, the new economic model. Because of legacy issues, it's going to be extremely difficult for any coalition to bring about fundamental change. But on the vision for Malaysia, Perikatan Nasional came about because of Pakatan Harapan and supposedly DAP or non-Muslims running the country. So Perikatan Nasional is going to take Malaysia into a very conservative era. In fact, Pahang, Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin has said that PAS will be the next, if BN wins Pahang, Perikatan Nasional wins Pahang, PAS will get to rule Pahang. So, and PAS under Hadi is very conservative. And Barisan Nasional, if you look at some of the ideas that have come through the manifesto, Zahid has actually promised tax incentives for the private sector who encourage a multicultural management. Now, that's interesting as an idea. I don't know if it will be legal, but you can see BN is, still has that sort of multicultural approach. And then Pakatan Harapan, as we said, structurally because of DAP and PKR, but also the genesis of Pakatan Harapan, which is reformasi. It is the only coalition that has a reform agenda driving the coalition.